For 50 years, they have raced on the fabled streets of the Grand Prix of Long Beach. The winners here, legends, their names etched into immortality, and today one more will join their number. But will it...
Drivers, start your engines!
The pace car pulls in. They will line up 2 by 2, and on this phenomenal, legendary circuit, we roll to green, and at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, we are now racing. Kyle Kirkwood leading his teammate down the straight and down towards turn 1. High speed and heavy braking as they open up and try to make that move immediately.
Kyle Kirkwood with the advantage, but further back they are 3 wide. Looked like Marcus Ericsson jamming his way in there. Alexander Rossi with a really nice move in that light blue and yellow Splenda car.
That's a huge jump from Rossi driving for ECR. You see a pair of McLarens, a trio of McLarens all lined up there, single file, a little bit of a defensive move there, but so far no incident.
Kyle Kirkwood doing exactly what he needed to do off the line there. No incidents between himself and his teammate, he said, as Newgarden has a look up the inside of Dixon, gets that done with a lovely instinctive move on the opening lap.
Scott Dixon was looking pretty defensive on that straightaway. Now he gets challenged again, or is challenging again to the outside as
Rasmussen made a move on the inside of Kiffin Simpson. Big dive as we see now Newgarden trying to defend against Dixon. He's on those harder tires, not able to mount the attack fast, but he has got to make that fuel number.
And who's the fastest man on track right now, guys? It's Joseph Newgarden, a 1:09.0. That's a 1.5 seconds faster than your race leader, Kyle Kirkwood.
That tells you they're already starting
there we go.
to fall off. That's Malukas we saw diving into pit lane there. And Hurt is in as well.
To get those 1.5 turns out if possible.
Trying to take 1.5 turns of front wing out of the car. We see Scott McLaughlin on the Dex imaging machine. He is in and out. Joseph Newgarden has set a trend, doing it from 15th. These are the guys up at the front making this move. How does Kirkwood react? How does Rosenquist?
Oh, very close. Herter and McLaughlin side by side, and it's a long stretch down. That funnels on the way out.
McLaughlin was ahead, but because it's a curved pit lane, I think Colton was driving a shorter distance. Advantage Herta at the exit.
Careful here, though. It's so easy to lock up on full tanks and cold, hard tires at the end of the straight. This is going to be a battle on this outlap to see who can capitalize. Tires are cold, car is heavy.
It's a great point. The first few corners are literally like driving in the rain. It's that slippery. Heavy cars, low grip.
And guys, right behind them on the racetrack,
yep.
Joseph Newgarden.
Yep.
He is already caught up with the drivers that were running in the top 5.
And the one thing the drivers were telling us earlier this weekend, this harder tire takes longer to bring it in. Newgarden's tires will already be up to temperature. He'll have the pace as he goes for the move. Immediately up and through. A wonderful move from Scott McLaughlin to take that position away from Colton Herta, as now Newgarden will be catching them both.
Going to get massively held up here by Ericsson as he gets up to speed. Little touch there. Newgarden into the back of Herta. Now McLaughlin down the inside. Perfect. Teammates side by side into 5. This is not a good passing spot.
Oh, Ericsson locks up again. Newgarden now almost spins out, trying to get to the throttle early.
The difference between tires that are cold, tires that are up to temperature, as Newgarden knows he has to find his way through and does it perfectly, instinctively, and straight away.
This is absolute madness and chaos.
Looks like Gordon Ramsay out there with all the hatchet jobs going on. They are chopping each other everywhere, and look who is in pit lane. Kyle Kirkwood, race leader.
But look at that train behind the 20 of Rossi. He's got a lineup of cars with push-to-pass, trigger fingers, and warm tires. Here comes, now that's power down the inside.
Power inside of O'Ward.
Rahal up and having a look at Malukas. Can't get it done on David Malukas. But the battle right now, Alexander Rossi currently down in P15. Appears to be something of a cork in the bottle, running about a half a second off the pace at the moment. Will Power just flew past him. How long before Pato O'Ward manages to do the same?
Yeah, tough phase of the race right now. All of the top 6 have yet to stop. They started on those hard tires, and they're going to go as long as possible. Maybe hope for a bit of a yellow stint to try to extend it, so that way they can cut down how many laps they have to do on those softs, which they eventually have to get to. But right now, Kirkwood pulling out over the cars behind.
Pelot's won the first 2 races of the season. He did so masterfully at St. Pete to start the year with great strategy decision. Let's listen to the team talking to their driver.
We are not worried about fuel now.
Yeah, we're not worried about fuel right now, and they just told Kirkwood he needs to save some, so if we can get around him, that'll be a big advantage.
One of the things I noticed, guys, is that Christian Lundgaard has actually started to close the gap a little bit on Kyle Kirkwood. Remember, before we went to break, I believe it was at about 32 seconds. I see the gap now right at about 31. It was at 30 last lap. So Christian Lundgaard with that clean air, nobody in front, he is getting the pace done.
Say that gap back to Kirkwood in 7th, it needs to be increasing. At the moment, it is shrinking. Lundgaard running 1 minute 9.1s. Kirkwood also 1 minute 9.1s, but he's been losing about 4 tenths, 5 tenths every single lap. The tires, obviously, on Kirkwood's car, much fresher, much newer, a little bit more pace in them. In fact, it's only 4 now because Kirkwood is up to 5th. Just the top 4 remain who started on the hard tire. How much longer can Lundgaard hang on?
So he might as well come now because he's catching traffic. Yeah. Indeed he does.
So he'll come in, refuel on Shell 100% renewable fuel there in the number 7 Arrow McLaren. Our onboard courtesy of Mission today has led 20 of the 27 laps thus far held. Scott Dixon takes over the lead of the race. How much longer can Scott Dixon go? Won this race last year on a crazy strategy. So much fuel saving for him. And Kevin,
and Dixon will come in the next lap. He was told, let's go. He's going to try to make up as much time and use the overcut by staying out a lap later. And for Christian Lundgaard, he's going to the softs this time. How long can he make them last?
Fascinating.
And he's doing the same strategy as Lundgaard. He's going to get his mandatory stint with the softs, the green sidewalled Firestones on this time. And what is going to be fascinating is to watch the blend. That is a quick stop for the PNC Bank crew and the Honda of Chip Ganassi Racing. He screams down to turn 1. Who's going to have the advantage between him and Lundgaard on that strategy?
That stop looked faster, Will, than the one of Christian Lundgaard. So Lundgaard is on Shoreline Drive right now. There he is.
Dixon out. Will he get through before him? It's going to be tight. And Lundgaard just keeps the position.
Oh, but it's Scott McLaughlin that loses out here. Cold tires for Dixon, hot tires for McLaughlin as he tried into 4. No, he's losing so much time to Lundgaard in front.
Although soft, cold tires for Dixon will become hot, soft tires real fast. That's the difference with the softer compound. Look for Scott Dixon to be lightning quick and go right back onto the gearbox of Christian Lundgaard.
At 0, he's coming in the pits right now, guys. A leader of this race responding to what Chip Ganassi Racing and the 10 has done. So now it all comes down, Jack, to the pit crews and the outlaps.
Absolutely it does. I was chatting to the team. What they were hoping for happened. Alex Pelot had to pit first. They're literally now doing his pit stop. No wing change. This outlap is so critical. Kevin, what's happening where you are?
Waiting to see Colton Herta. He'll be the next one up near the front, stopping from his position inside the top 6. Everyone is satisfied as Herta is in the tire requirement except for Stingray Robb. He has not run the soft green sidewalls yet. Everyone else likely done with the greens.
So Alex Pelot on the front straightaway. Here comes Kyle Kirkwood. Here comes Pelot. Now, it doesn't look close, but Kirkwood's on cold tires. Pelot will be able to catch him very quickly over the next few corners, but Kirkwood easily with track position.
Does he decide to come in this time? He's entering turn 9. Dixon's going to slot out in front of Scott McLaughlin right now, who was running in 11th, but he's on those hards. They are cold. McLaughlin's going to be full attack.
Dixon with his mirrors full of Penske and right up the inside, and that's wonderful from Scott McLaughlin. Beautiful move.
Hard place to get it done. Now McLaughlin's teammate Newgarden trying to line up the 6th
Here comes Newgarden.
See it all too easy.
Scott being smart, not defending too much. You can lose even more lap time and make yourself more susceptible to guys like Colton Herta, who's now right behind Dixon, if you go too aggressive on defense.
It was that exact situation for Scott Dixon that put him in the wall here at Long Beach with Pato O'Ward a couple years ago, and possibly lost a championship opportunity as Colton Herta goes by.
And right now, he's running about that gap to just behind Felix Rosenquist, so he would slot into an effective 4th as we see McLaughlin clear the lap down car now of Kiffin Simpson. And now we're going to have a half tank of fuel to get in. It is all on the 4 guns and the jack person for the 7 machine. High pressure.
Lundgaard coming down to our man Kevin Lee.
And remember, this pit lane is challenging because it is angled. It's difficult to get the fuel squared in perfectly, and this stop needs to be really, really quick because it won't take very long to fuel. Tires are done, fuel is done, Christian Lundgaard is out. How does he compare to Dixon?
A little longer than they probably wanted there on the left rear.
Just a small hesitation, but that can mean everything. You're crawling at 45 miles an hour. It's so difficult as a driver to not lose your cool. Off the button now. There goes Palou. So that's an effective 3rd in the race.
Wow.
He's got Rosenquist coming, I think, hard behind him. He's going to have to fight to keep the Meyer-Shank racing machine of Rosenquist behind. He's already now on his gearbox. This is going to be the battle for effectively 3rd.
Rosenquist with tires up to temperature. Will he have a look up the inside like McLaughlin did? Oh, he's close. He's really, really close on this short little run down to the left-hander. Rosenquist chucks it up the inside, says thank you very much, and will disappear off into the distance.
And there comes Schwartzman. Now, lap 52, he still will have to stop another time, no matter what, fuel or tires.
Hunkos have sent Rob back out on the soft tire. Be interesting to see what Prema do with Schwartzman. Of course, the team in only their 3rd NTT INDYCAR Series race as we ride on board with the man who started on pole, with the man who is now your race leader once again, Kyle Kirkwood, courtesy of Prefab.
As Alex Palou starts to reel in Kyle Kirkwood ever so slightly.
Let's hear some radio from him.
To run fast laps you can right now.
That was quick radio.
Pylon there, so right-hand side of the pylon right there. Push to pass, seconds remaining. Impressive that Kyle Kirkwood has almost 30 seconds more. We always talk about Alex Palou's discipline, his methodical approach. But for young Kyle Kirkwood to out-discipline the surgeon in the closing laps of Long Beach, very impressive. That's going to be important.
See Joseph Newgarden coming in for his final stop. A little bit of that alternate strategy. First guy in the pits, first guy to do his last stop as well.
Might have to save a bit of fuel too. 30 laps to go to the close. That's not going to be an easy number.
But what this does is it puts Joseph Newgarden in the position to danger zone the rest of the field. By that I mean if a caution came out because of a crash all of a sudden, Joseph Newgarden would be in the sweet spot. Everybody else would pit under caution as Newgarden is back out, hoping to get ahead of this Prema car that's coming.
Don't know if it's going to stay that way.
He's got
side by
position.
side.
Oh, high percentage move there from Newgarden to back out with Callum Ilott in the Prema car coming through. Look at Joseph Newgarden waving frantically. There's an issue. Seatbelt perhaps. Is it possible that Newgarden had a seatbelt coming loose like his teammate Will Power did at the end of last season in Nashville?
I can't see that based on how they were reaching in there. But Kev, 7's in.
Christian Lundgaard making his final stop. By the way, the last to win a race for this team, other than Pato Award, is you, James Hinchcliffe.
And as we see more trouble for Joseph Newgarden, you might be right, T-Bell. That might be a seatbelt issue. It's easy to do here because of the hairpin. You do such a big crossover with your hands and arms. Sometimes you can just catch the release latch.
This is bizarre. I mean, we don't hear about seatbelts coming loose, but for the same team to have that issue after Will Power had it, I am just really shocked as Felix Rosenquist makes his final stop.
And this is key for the last step on that podium because we saw Lundgaard come in. He was trying to get that stop, get out on track, and hopefully make the time up. But as we've seen today, the overcut traditionally is the one that works. Where does Rosie come out in relation to Lundgaard? We're moments away from finding out. Lundgaard's tires will be up to temperature. Rosenquist will have to push on regardless. And so far,
there goes Rosie. The 7 is behind him, so Lundgaard's still back there by a good chunk. You see it up there on the map. And he's now got 2 cars in between him, so just advantage to Rosenquist.
So
easy
brutal
peasy
for Newgarden to lose a lap now and basically be totally taken out of it. Was doing such a great job. It advanced so many positions. The gambles appear to be working. He was doing everything right behind the wheel.
Palou is in.
Final stop for Alex Palou up near the end of pit lane, looking for a flawless stop. These are the hard Firestones once again. One more lap, we think, for Kyle Kirkwood. Palou is away.
And Palou pushing for a third win on the bounce. To take 3 wins in a row to open the season. This is where he will push, and he pushed on his in-lap. He got that gap down to under half a second to Kyle Kirkwood. The race leader now has to put it all on the line and push with everything he's got, as Palou has to do the same.
And importantly for Palou, he has no traffic to deal with, but not the case for Kyle Kirkwood. He has now caught the back of the pack, and he is losing precious time right now. He's got to come to the box.
Got to come in. That was devastating result. He really has to hope that the team can get the job done, that maybe Palou has a bit of a bobble, but that's not exactly what we know Alex Palou to do. As Jack, he comes to you now.
Yeah, he's literally just about to hit his marks. The most important 2 laps of the entire weekend now for Kyle Kirkwood and the Andretti team are literally happening. That in-lap, this out-lap, slight hiccup there, I would say, but pretty smooth. He's going to hustle as hard as he can down to turn 1 and hopefully get out ahead of the Palou.
Slight delay getting away for Kyle Kirkwood. The gap was half a second that Kirkwood led Palou when Palou came into the pits. Keep your eyes on your race leader exiting pit lane. Keep your eye on that number 10 on the track map, and you'll see the yellow and red DHL car in vision any moment. Running down into turn 1. Who will have the lead of this race? Kirkwood exits. There's Palou.
But we've seen how long it takes these hard tires to come up to temperature. Palou now through turn 1. He's got the bit between his teeth.
Jack talked about the overcut is usually the play here because of this, because it's so narrow. Even if Palou gets to Kirkwood right here, there's really nowhere to get by. Kirkwood has to make sure he doesn't make a mistake right here. Exiting turn 5, it looked good.
It's the highest pressure situation for a driver. You're leading the race. You've got almost no grip on those cold tires, but you have to push because there's a 3-time champion breathing down your neck. Kirkwood being flawless so far.
The moment that Kirkwood knew he had to defend with everything he's got. Palou coming fast on the faster tire. And you know what? Every single driver on their up or down positions on where they started, the only one that hasn't changed for is Kyle Kirkwood, and that's not something we've been able to say this season. We haven't had a win from pole all the way through this year. Shows the job that Kyle Kirkwood has done thus far today, in particular when you think about the man that he's had to keep behind him for the majority of this race. Alex Palou now over 2.5 seconds behind the pole sitter. Car of Rosenqvist looking back at Lundgaard, and Lundgaard is coming for him. The gap has been cut right down. It's under half a second between the McLaren driver and the Meyer Shank driver ahead of him. This for the final spot on the podium.
Oh boy.
Lundgaard love to make it back-to-back podium.
Lundgaard looked really, really good coming out of turn 11, but he just doesn't have much push to pass left. Neither does Rosenqvist as it goes to 0. So nothing left to defend with. Here comes Lundgaard.
Shaping him up, goes to the inside.
Out of line. Inside.
Had to do it there, had to get it done, and he executed. Rosie tried to fight it, but just gave him enough room. Heads up driving as both drivers exhausted. Their push to pass on that final attempt. Right on board with him now in this replay.
I loved how he kind of went, then held up, and then fired in with authority. Kind of kept Rosenqvist guessing. I think Rosenqvist a little unsure whether or not Lundgaard was going to really go for it.
I think Lundgaard a little unsure if he was really going to go for it, but we don't call him, what is it, Lungeguard for nothing?
One lap to go. Look at the number of push-to-pass seconds that Kyle Kirkwood is going to take with him, although you can't take him anywhere.
Kyle Kirkwood told me in the lead up to this season how much he had worked on himself, on his body, on his mind over the winter. He was so unhappy not taking home a victory in 2024. He said that was the first thing that he wanted to correct this season. The second was consistency. He has had that for the opening 3 weekends, and here in Long Beach, he has been dominant and crushingly perfect. From pole position to the checkered flag, Kyle Kirkwood wins in Long Beach.
Come on, boys. Let's go! Oh, my gosh. Great job. Been a tragedy as always. Thank you guys so much.